What is up, beautiful people? It's your girl Cam and I am back with another video. Today I'm coming at you with my February book reviews, and I am super excited to share with you the books that I read this month and what I thought about them. So if you want to hear it, just stay right there. Okay, y'all, so if my voice sounds a little scratchy, it's allergy season. If I start sniffling, I'm going to try to edit that out, but it is allergy season in full effect here in North Carolina where I live, so it is what it is. So I did read 8 books this month, and in this video I'm going to share with you my book reviews, and then I'm going to do a overhead desk shot and show you how my reading journal turned out. And speaking of my reading journal, I want to show you guys this adorable cover that I found for my Archer and Olive journal while I was in DC at Go Wild. She cute, y'all. She real cute. Ooh. Ooh. She is adorable. It is hand painted, and I know that because it's got the little signature on the back right here. So she is gorgeous, and I really didn't buy it with the intention of keeping my journal in it, but after I bought it, Larissa and I were looking at it, and I was like, I wonder if my journal will fit in there. And sure enough, she fits right in there. Now it does have a snap closure, so it's not going to fit in here for long because the chunkier this gets, the harder it's going to be to snap it. So I don't know if I'll take it somewhere and see if they can expand the little closure on it for me, or if I'll just leave it unsnapped and tuck it in the back and just keep carrying it. But I thought it was really, really cute. So I got this from the National Museum of African American History in DC at their bookstore, their gift shop. Yeah. Alright, so I read 8 books this month. In those 8 books, I read 3 traditional novels, and by traditional novel, I mean books that are over 200 pages. I read 2 novellas, and by that I mean books that are super short. Like I think the 2 that I read were about 75 pages each. I read 1 graphic novel and 2 children's books, so that should be 7. So 3 traditional novels, 1 graphic novel, 2 novellas. Yep, that's 8. Make sure I got my math right. So I'm going to give these books to you again in order of how I liked them, how I enjoyed them. None of these books were bad. I wouldn't say that I don't recommend any of these books, but I just like to put them in order of how I enjoyed them for the month. Okay, so let's start at number 8. So number 8 was The Perfect Kind of Love by Patricia Campbell. And this was a novella that I found on Amazon, and I read this around Valentine's Day, and it was a love story set around Valentine's Day. So there were a couple things about this book that I did like, and then a couple things that I was kind of annoyed by. So I thought that the story premise was very good. 2 people meeting in a business situation, and they end up really liking each other, and they form a relationship. I thought that was cool, that was neat. And the 2 best friends were very supportive of each other in the novel. I thought that was good too. But 2 things kind of turned me off from the book. One was the explicit content. It was kind of explicit. And then the other thing that annoyed me were the errors in the book. I feel like people should get a editor to look at their work before they publish it, and I think there were a few too many errors in this book for my taste. One more thing that annoyed me was there was a secret that the main character, the guy in the book, was keeping from the girl, and he kind of skirted around it in the beginning of their relationship, but he never came right out and said it. And I was just disappointed with that. I felt like he should have said it up front and given her the opportunity to say, okay, yeah, I want to pursue a relationship with you, or no, I don't want to pursue a relationship with you, and give her kind of the choice before she fell head over heels in love with him. That kind of annoyed me a little bit. But you know, it's part of the storyline. It's part of the storyline, and the author made the choice to present the story in that way. But I just didn't like it. I just didn't like that part of it, that he didn't disclose some information to her in the very beginning of them getting to know each other. So I would have appreciated him telling her that. All right, so overall, it was a good book. You know, would I say read it? Yeah, I guess so overall, this was a decent book, and I would say if you're interested in a love story that takes place on Valentine's Day, something super short to read, I think it was like 70 some odd pages, I would recommend it. I did give this book 3 stars on Goodreads, and again, that is The Perfect Kind of Love by Patricia Campbell. Give Me Love with Cherish and Gratitude. And this was another novella that I found on Amazon, and it was really a good story. Another one that had some kind of explicit content in it, but not as many errors. But over and above the kind of racy content, the storyline was really, really solid. And there were some surprises at the end of this novella that I was not expecting. So I'll show you the cover of the book right here. And I will tell you that it's a love story, and it's set around Christmas time. And so it was kind of off season for me to read it, but it was a really good book about 2 people that meet by some strange circumstances, and they end up falling in love with each other, and they support each other. And like I said, it's a little racy in there at times, but it is a very good story by B. Love. Okay, so I did give Me Love, Cherish and Gratitude 4 stars on Goodreads, and I did read it on my Kindle. I'm forgetting to mention which ones I read on Kindle, but I did read Give Me Love, Cherish and Gratitude on Kindle, and I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, and this is going to be number 7 for me this month. Coming in at number 6 is One True Loves by Elise Bryant. And this is a physical book that I read this month. I didn't read too many physical books. Most of my books were on Kindle. But I did find this book on Amazon. And I was attracted to this book because, as you may know, I'm a travel agent. And this particular book takes place on a Mediterranean cruise. And there's a young teenage girl who is having trouble with her relationships. Really a lot of different relationships. Her relationship with her brother, her relationship with her parents, and her love relationships. She's having some difficulty there. And she meets this hot young guy on a cruise ship when her parents go on a Mediterranean cruise after she graduates from high school. That's like their gift to her and her brother, because her brother graduates from undergrad and she graduates from high school, and so they take this Mediterranean cruise together. She throws a coin or 2 into the Trevi Fountain, which is supposed to be good luck for finding love. She does that. She spots this guy, and then a romance ensues on the cruise ship. So I thought this book was really a good book, but again, there were several errors in the book, and I think that writers should get either an editor or better editors to check over their work to make sure there are not so many errors in the book. I mean, there were quite a few. There was one error that seemed like the sentence was like an editing note, and I wish I had highlighted it to read it to you, but it read like an editor wrote that in and someone ended up typing it into the book. I'm serious. I wish I had highlighted it, but I was like, where did this sentence come from all of a sudden? But anyway, it was a good book, a good kind of coming of age love story, a good story about a young woman who learns to use her voice more and to not hide who she is, and then she finds love. And I think that's all of those are really good elements of this book. I looked up some of the locations that they visited along their way, in Italy and in Greece along their way, so I could see the location and kind of get a good visual for it in my mind as I was reading the story, because I haven't been to Greece or Italy yet, so it was good for me to see those places as I was reading, to capture the moment as I was reading the story. So this was One True Loves by Elise Bryant. I did give this 4 stars on Goodreads. Coming in at number 5 is Kamala Harris, Rooted in Justice. This is a children's picture book, and I have mentioned before that I am giving myself permission to read children's books along this journey this year of reading 60 plus books. As long as the children's books are impactful, or they are teaching me something and they could potentially teach children something. So this is really good to learn more about our vice president's history and how she grew up as an activist with an activism family. I thought it was a really good read. The illustrations were amazing. The story of her family is amazing. I learned quite a few things about her that I did not know in this book. It did not talk a lot about her husband or her kids in this book, so I don't know why that was left out. But yeah, it was a great story of her life, picture book biography, and I truly enjoyed it. And I found this book at 2nd and Charles here in my city, and I do recommend it because 2nd and Charles has some new books and they have some secondhand books as well. I did give this book 5 stars on Goodreads. Coming in at number 4 is Drumbeat in Our Feet by Patricia Keeler, and illustrated also by Patricia Keeler. And this is a story about the history of African dance. And so there are 2 parts to this book. On the left-hand pages, the author gives you the history of African dance, and on the right-hand pages all the way through the book, some children are preparing for an African dance performance in their local community theater. I thought, one, the concept of this book was really, really adorable, to have the history on one side and the actual action in the book on the other side of the page. I thought that was adorable and a very, very smart idea. And I thought that the illustrations were amazing, and I learned quite a bit about African dance and culture and the costumes and what colors represent. And the children, of course, were just adorable throughout this book. I did give this book 5 stars on Goodreads. Coming in at number 3 is I Am Alfonso Jones by Tony Medina. And this is a graphic novel, and once again I'm reading a book about police brutality. In this book, a young teenage boy is murdered by the police, and it happens very early on in the book, so I'm not giving any spoilers. I enjoyed this book though because it gave varying and divergent perspectives on the incident and what happened. Perspective from Alfonso. Alfonso is the young teenage boy that was shot and killed. It gives his mom's perspective, his grandfather's perspective, his girlfriend's perspective, some of his classmates' perspective on it, the police officer, the police officer's father, so many different people, and the police officer's friends and colleagues. So many people have a voice in this book, and it just gives the story more meat on its bones. There was no solution to this problem determined in this book. There was no solution to the problem given in this book, but Alfonso ends up on this ghost train where other people have left this world as a result of police brutality and murder of unarmed people. Well, some of them were armed and some of them were not, so I'm not going to say all of them were unarmed. But to me, unnecessary murder of many people in this book were also on this ghost train, and they tell their stories, and we get a whole lot of different circumstances and situations under which the police are brutalizing people of color. So it's another tough read. I think the comic book or graphic novel aspect of it made it a little bit easier to read. The illustrations were amazing. The illustrator is John Jennings, and he did a great job with the illustrations in this book. Again, I really loved the different perspectives that were shared in this book, and I did give this book 5 stars on Goodreads. Okay, and coming in at number 2 is another book that I read on my Kindle, and I'm going to show you the picture of the cover of the book right here. And I mean, what can I say about Honey and Spice? It was an excellent read. It's about 2 young people who meet at a uni in London, and they are of African descent. And if you know anything about me, you know that I love reading books about African people, black people, and I love reading books that are set in Africa. And although this book was not set in Africa, it was like this community of African students. The main character, Kikiola Banjo, has a radio show called Brown Sugar, where she sets the sisters straight on their relationships, and she plays good music. And then this mystery guy shows up on campus. His name is Malachi Korede, and mayhem ensues. Okay, I don't want to give away too much of this book because I really want you to read it. The things I loved about this book were the names of the cliques on campus. They were so cute, like the vegan cupcakes and the Bible study babes. And oh my goodness, what were some more cliques and nicknames? They were so cute. Hold on. Oh, the Galdem Council. And Niger Princesses. So the girls from Nigeria. It was such a good read, and the thing that I loved the most in this novel were the conversations between the 2 main characters. Now, all of the characters in the book were just delicious. They were engaging, they were lively. I could picture these people in my mind as they were talking, but the 2 main characters, Kiki and Malachi, when they talked to each other, there was just sparks every time they had a conversation. And whether they were angry with each other or getting to know each other or falling in love with each other, sparks just flew every time. Sparks just flew every time. And this is a tribute to the author, and her name is Balu Babalola, and she's a Nigerian author. And she did a great job writing the dialogue. I mean, the entire novel was great, but the dialogue between these 2 characters was just like eating a dessert. It was just like eating a delicious dessert. And you just wanted more and more of their conversation. The banter between them was just so quick, and sometimes it was funny, and sometimes it was kind of shocking. I'm just like, how do you come up with these little quick-witted conversations? It was so good, and so many heartwarming moments, and so many moments where I cried a little bit, and I just thought it was well written. And this is Honey and Spice by Bolu Babalola, and I did give this one 5 stars on Goodreads, and I read it on my Kindle. Yay, Kindle. Alright, and coming in at number 1. Coming in at number 1, y'all. 7 Days in June. I'm going to go ahead and put the cover for you here. Alright, oh my gosh, where do I start with 7 Days in June? First of all, I read it on my Kindle, and I just could not stop reading this book. It's another love story about 2 writers who meet when they're in high school. Some things happen and they're separated for a long time. They both develop successful writing careers, and they end up coming back together under some unusual circumstances years later. And there are these 7 days in June when they had this whirlwind romance, and they get back together years later, and a lot has happened. One of the characters has been married and had a child, and I love seeing the relationship between this character and their child. It was just beautiful, and it was like a flower unfolding to watch their relationship just kind of come to life in the book. And the dialogue in this one was another good one. I love snarky dialogue. I don't know what that says about me, but I love little snarky, quick-witted dialogue, and there was so much of that in this novel. And the characters were dynamic, and they had a lot of friction between them, and you discovered, I don't want to do any spoilers because there's some good spoilers in this novel, so I'm just going to talk in general terms because I do recommend that you read this book. So lots of friction, lots of surprises, twists and turns in this novel. One of the main characters is from Louisiana, and she talks about her history and her heritage and her culture being from Louisiana, and there's just so much in this book. Now, I will tell you that there are some trigger warnings because there is some self-harm in this book, and there is some drug use in this book. And it is a book for grown-ups. There are some scenes in this book that are a little racy, but when I tell you this book is #1 for me this month by a long shot. Like, there was nothing else. Even though I loved Honey and Spice, it could not touch 7 Days in June. It was a #1 pick for me by a long shot. By a long shot. I highly recommend this book as a read for you this year. It was so well written, so engaging. The characters were complex, the dialogue was rich, and it seemed so real, like you could see these people right in front of you as you were reading, or as I was reading I could see them, like these were people that I knew and that I could be friends with. So this was a well-written book, and it was written by Tia Williams, and I just want to give kudos to her because she is a great writer. I'm looking for more books to read from her. So that was it. That was my #1 pick for this month, 7 Days in June. I had such good books to read this month, and I'm looking forward to next month. And I will tell you that the book I'm reading right now is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I am reading this with my planner bestie Larissa and with my colleague Susan. Hey Susan, if you're watching this video. We are reading this book together, and we're going to have a book talk at the end of the month. I know that a couple of you have asked me about doing a book club, and I'm trying to kind of wrap my mind around how I would do that. So let me look into how I would get that done, and I may pick up doing that this year. I'm going to try it and see if I can do it. So that's going to do it for the book reviews for this month. Lots of good books to read. The next thing I want to do is I want to show you how my reading journal turned out for this month. So stay right there and I'll show you my reading journal. Okay, y'all, I got to get ready to go to church. So I'm going to do this flip through of my February reading journal super quick. I want to give you a close-up look of the cover that I bought while I was in DC. Super pretty. Sorry for the glare, but this is hand painted. Like, what? And it has these little jewels and beads on them that are like really on there. You see that? So pretty. So this is the cover. I don't know how long it's gonna last because it's already tight, right? Because this book is already thickums. But let's take a look at my reading journal for this month. You've seen all of this, how I'm keeping up with my books here on my little bookshelf. You've seen here where I'm doing my bingo. I'm marking off books from my to be read list as I read them. I'm documenting my stars here in this page, what I read. Documenting what days I read. You can look right here in March and see that I did not read anything while I was at Go Wild. Like, period. I took my tablet, I took my Kindle with me, but I did not get any reading done. It was just too much going on. Okay, I document here just in general how many pages I read, and then here the number of books I read. This is on a monthly basis. So I read 7 books in January, 8 books in February. Here's my Goodreads. This is the tracker of my books by category. So thriller, fiction, young adult, romance, nonfiction, and history. Then my A to Z challenge is here, and I'm keeping up with that. Now on this page I did document my favorite book from January and my favorite book from February. I just need to come in and put my 5 stars in there. And then I write it down again, my favorite book and how many books I read total. And then I do the covers of each book here in this section. And let's skip on to the actual month of February. So here's my monthly view. And in this view it shows you when I started reading a book and when I finished. In this view, it shows you when I started reading a book and when I finished, so I keep track of that. I started Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute on Audible, and I did not finish it, so I did not count it and I did not rate it because I have not finished listening to that book, and that would be unfair for me to talk about it or rate it if I haven't finished reading it. Here I wrote down the books that I read this month. And then here is where I track the exact number of pages that I'm reading, so all the way up to 100. I also mark off when I finish a chapter, and then I wrote down my stats here at the bottom. So total books purchased was 15, total books read was 8, total number of pages was 1404. That's less than last month because I read quite a few novellas and children's books. But 1404 was my total, and then the average star rating was 4.5 for this month. And then I did put in some of my favorite quotes, and then I put in, this was going to be pickup lines, but it ended up just being lines that were pivotal in the relationships, because I didn't really see any like outstanding pickup lines that they had between each other, but these were conversations that were pivotal in their relationship. So that's what I put here in this section. And then I have a book review for One True Loves, not because it was the most outstanding book, but because I really liked the travel aspect of it, and I wanted to document that. So I put in some of the places that she visited, Palermo, Athens, the Trevi Fountain, and then some of my little Happy Planner travel stickers in there as well, and then just the image from the cover of the book. That was One True Loves by Elise Bryant. And then of course I had to give a full dedicated spread to 7 Days in June, which was my absolute favorite book this month. I got this image from Pinterest, and I just wrote down some of the things that I loved about this book and used one of my Happy Planner stickers to put a title across the top. And then I also did short reviews for I Am Alfonso Jones, which was the graphic novel I read this month, and also Honey and Spice. And I didn't too much write a review of this one as much as I wrote down some of the things I really liked about it, which were the clicks and the little snarky nicknames that they gave people in the story. And I don't want to spoil any of that because it's super fun to read that as you're going through the novel yourself. So I do highly recommend Honey and Spice. I do highly recommend 7 Days in June if you haven't read it already. This was just a good month of really good books, y'all. So good. And I'm looking forward to reading my next book, which is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I also want to show you super quick before I go some books that I bought while I was in DC. I bought these books from the King Center. Oh gosh, we went so many places. The King Center, the African American Museum of History, and then there was a bookstore called the Lost City Bookstore. Let me see if I can figure out where I got which ones from. Okay, so I think these two came from the Lost City Bookstore. This is Sister Mother Warrior, which is a story about Haitian no, this isn't the Haitian book. That's something that Larissa picked up. So this is Born in West Africa. Adria Toya was one of the legendary Minos, specifically chosen female warriors consecrated to the king of Dahomey. Oh, okay. I forgot what this is about. Betrayed by an enemy and sold into slavery. Toya wound up in Saint Domingue, where she became a healer and an authority figure on the island's plantations. Among the motherless children she raised was the revolutionary Jean-Jacques Dessalines. When the enslaved people rose up, Toya, ever the warrior, was at the forefront of the rebellion that changed the course of history. Okay, so I'm sure I pronounced those names wrong, but I'll figure it out. But this is the Island Queen. But this is Sister, Mother, Warrior, and novel that I picked up from a bookstore called Lost City in DC. I also picked up Black Cake. This was actually on my list of books to read, and I found it in the Lost City bookstore in DC as well. So this is about present-day California. Eleanor Bennett's death leaves behind a puzzling inheritance for her 2 children, Byron and Benny, a traditional Caribbean black cake made from a family recipe with a long history and a voice recording. In her message, Eleanor shares a tumultuous story about a headstrong young swimmer who escapes her island home under suspicion of murder. The heartbreaking tale of Eleanor unfolds. The secret she still holds back and the mystery of a long-lost child challenge everything the siblings thought they knew about their identity and themselves. So, Black Cake, that's on my list. And these are not necessarily books I'm going to read in March. I'm just showing you the books that I bought that will be coming up soon on this channel. Alright, Wash Day Diaries is a graphic novel, so I will be reading this one. I might read this one in March because I need a graphic novel to read. So, yeah, 5 interconnected short comics follow 4 friends, Kim, Nisha, Devine, and Cookie, through the ups and downs of their daily lives in the Bronx, from self-care to spilling the tea at an hours-long salon appointment to healing family rifts. Each story uses hair routines as a window into who these young women are and how they care for each other. Oh, that sounds so good. So that's Wash Day Diaries. Okay, this one I got from the African American Museum of History, their bookstore. It's not a bookstore, it's a gift shop, the gift shop. Okay, I also bought this one. No, did I buy this one from the bookshop? Yes, I did. Discovering History's Heroes, Ida B. Wells, Fighter for Justice. This is a short book. It's a regular novel, but it's pretty short. It's only got 142 pages, by Ida B. Wells, by Diane Bailey. I think I got this one from the Museum of African American History as well. This is Black Women in Science by Kimberly Brown Pelham, PhD. So lots of stories about black women who have been involved in scientific discoveries and the field of science. I'm looking forward to this. Katherine Johnson, Gladys West, Annie Easley. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be an easy read, but I'm going to learn quite a bit in this book. So this one is Black Women in Science by Kimberly Brown Pelham, PhD. And then I think I bought this one from the Dr. King bookstore. This is Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad. It's another graphic novel, a pretty short one. And I know quite a bit about Harriet Tubman, but I just wanted to grab this book. So those are some of the books. And then I bought this book set. I know this came from the King bookstore. This is called March, the Trilogy Slipcase Edition. So there are 3 books in here. March 1, March 2, and March 3. I'm not in camera. I'm not in frame. Okay, so there are 3 books in here. March 1, 2, and 3. And it is about different periods of time when black people marched and protested. So I guess we can go ahead and unbox it since I'm here with you. I can go ahead and unbox and so you can see the covers super quick. Alright, so book 1 is, you can see that they've got counter clothes here. This is probably going to be about the 50s and 60s. It is a graphic novel. It's black and white. Okay, Okay, but this is March book 1. And then you've got March book 2, which is, you've got Dr. King there giving his speech at the Lincoln Memorial. You've got the Freedom Riders. The bus is on fire there. It's also in black and white. And so this is going to be another extension of the marches that took place in American history. And then March 3. Okay, so all of this is about Dr. King. It's just details of the different marches that he was a part of. So I kind of misunderstood the concept, but I'm still happy I bought this book. So different marches that Dr. King was involved in, and just a history of the civil rights movement in graphic novel form. So it's a trilogy. I'm looking forward to reading this. And that's going to do it, y'all. And like I mentioned previously, I'm not showing you these books because they're coming up in March. I'm just showing you books that I purchased recently and kind of letting you know what will be coming up soon on this channel. Things that I will be reading in the coming weeks and months. Okay, and then just as a reminder, this is what I'm reading right now, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Larissa and Susan and I are reading this book, and we're going to do a book talk at a restaurant later on this month. I am working on putting together a book club or a kind of book talk group, and I will work on that, and I'll get back to you on the details on it very, very soon. So thank you so much for joining me for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you saw some books in this list that you are interested in reading. And if you did, let me know which one you've either read or you are interested in reading of the ones that I've shown you, either the ones I reviewed or the ones that I bought recently. Which ones have you read already? Which ones are you interested in reading? And I hope that you will also give me some suggestions, if you have any, on books that I should be reading this year that you think I should read. And yeah, that's going to do it for me, y'all. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed, what are you waiting on? We have all the fun over here. Planners, books, journals. We love it all. And I think that you would too. So hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll be notified every time I post new content right here for you. I hope that you are enjoying some good books this year, and I hope that your month of March is full of love, joy, and most of all, peace. See you next time.